Yeah, I'm good. Just recovering after a bit of a race yesterday, so it's a slightly easier day than normal, but I earned it, I think. Yes, so of course I had a bit of a training break after heading over to Daytona for the PTO World Championships. But it's summer over in New Zealand and Australia, and we're really lucky. We've got a heap of events, and I love racing. I love all the elements and atmosphere that comes with it. Given the PTO this year, there's a lot of small rivalries between who's going to make the teams for the Collins Cup and the jostle with your points in the annual rankings. So it's actually really lucky that Ellie Salthouse is one of my current rivals and great competitors at the moment. So I beat her last year in some of the racing at the end of the year, and she's currently got two over me actually so far this year. So I really appreciate it. It's a bit of fun. We're friends off the race course, and we've got another 2 opportunities coming up actually at 70.3 Geelong and then Challenge Shepparton. Yeah, so for Daytona, because it was such a massive championship race, New Zealand and Australian citizens have a bit of a process to go through for travel exemption, and coming back home again, we have to quarantine in our hotel for 2 weeks without any, there's very limited sporting equipment you can actually fit through the doors of the hotel room. So I was able to get a treadmill on my last quarantine, but its max speed was 12k an hour for a maximum of half an hour. So you can make do with it, but it really means that we can only travel for the really big premium races without it taking too much out on our bodies and our bank accounts. With the cost of flights at the moment, getting back in the country is actually a real challenge with the government too. So Miami looked like a great race. It was really awesome to watch, but I think we would just wait until the Collins Cup and 70.3 Worlds in Kona at the end of the year for more of those World Championship battles. It'll keep us hungry down here to get that opportunity. In New Zealand, I sort of grew up in a community where sport was really encouraged. I sort of played everything. In my teenage years, I started cycling and joined the cycling club. We had a great team. We're actually national champs in the team's time trial. I won the hill climb and the individual time trial. So that was a great year on the bike for me as my last sort of year as a junior. After that, I headed off to university and sort of took a much more relaxed approach to training. But that was definitely a really strong foundation for me, I think, mentally and physically, especially with that team environment we had. You know, I guess most of my really fond memories are in the team time trial. And if you've already dropped one girl, no matter how hard you're battling, you have to stay on the wheel, otherwise you're letting your whole team down. So you learn to enter a whole nother realm, which is exactly what we're doing now in elite sport. So it's actually really interesting to notice that we sort of gauged in on those at such a young age. I also coached cycling for 3 years after I finished racing in the club, and sort of got to see those same elements and lots of the other junior athletes, which was really rewarding. Studied architecture. I haven't had much of an opportunity to work in the field. I worked a little bit while I was studying. I actually went on and started my master's, but unfortunately, when the opportunity of sport came off, I sort of had to choose one or the other to pursue. So the sport was clearly my path that I've chosen, and it's been a really rewarding one. I am definitely interested to go back to the industry when I finish. I think I might need to do a little bit more of a refresher course to get back in, but I've definitely still got a lot of passion there. So I have no regrets spending the time in my study. I think it shapes you as a person a lot as well. I actually got my pro license, we'll step one back in the end of 2014, but I went over to Australia. I actually won my first half Ironman, which was a real experience, but I took a bit of time out after that, continued studying and what I was working on in New Zealand. But I had the opportunity at the start of 2016 to join the Tanyapura triathlon team. There's actually another French athlete, Anthony Costes, and we went over there. We based ourselves there for a year and raced predominantly the Asian circuit. I won a lot of races, and it gave me the opportunity to join the BMC edX Pro Triathlon team the year after, which was another huge step into the sport for me. And I think those 2 years really confirmed what I was doing. I was on the right path and gave me an unbelievable array of racing opportunities all around the world. The moments I found the most rewarding then were sort of being able to travel after the race and the communities on the sidelines and getting to know the culture and trying, the exquisite foods in each country. Whereas now I think as I'm progressing and really striving to be one of the best in the world, the more rewarding moments are where I'm able to really push through small sort of challenges, overcome injuries, and even really small mental battles that are normally actually with yourself on race day. Racing at Daytona was a pretty special experience because for everyone it was such a tough year, and I think there were a lot of crazy ideas that went through everyone's mind, and it was quite a significant financial risk even, and just making sure I was aware of what I was doing going over there. And 5th place, although I didn't have the perfect execution, that's sort of a very rare opportunity. It was still a really amazing place and amazing race and experience to be a part of that. And 5th place was quite a credible performance. So there's a few different elements, I suppose, of which is most exciting in racing, and we need them all to keep it balanced and keep us in the sport and excited about it, and hopefully motivating everyone else to join us. I'm currently ranked 18th in the PTO annual ranking, so I would love to move up into the top 10. 70.3 world champs as well as Kona are my goal. I've only raced 2 full distance so far, so it's still a very big learning curve for me, but ultimately I'd love to be on the podium at 70.3 world champs, and top 10 at Kona are my sort of ultimate goals. So I'm happy to put those out there. We don't always achieve our goals, and normally if we don't, we come back hungrier. But if I could, that'd be dreams starting to come true. The hate-love relationship I think you're getting at, where you know it's going to be awful, but yeah, you're going to feel great and a whole lot stronger afterwards. Sometimes we do an epic training day normally in a build-up for an Ironman, where we'll do a swim squad to be a really hard set of maybe 8 400s or 10 400s, but you're pushing the whole time and descending those times. And then we often do a triple bike day afterwards, and often with a run off the very last bike ride. So it's a huge training day, and all you do is you train, you eat, and you sit down in between. And we'll do a set of intervals after that swim, normally on the road, some big gear. We'll do a short set in the middle of maybe 3 or 5 or 10-minute intervals. And then in the evening, we'll still do an all-out build. And normally the end of that build, unfortunately, is not quite as hard as you'd like to be. And then you run off the bike with maybe some intervals, or occasionally it's an easy jog so you can relax, but you earn your dinner at the end of that day. I guess I'm quite loyal to Australia and New Zealand. It's where I'm based, the people I know personally. But I also know the Norway boys a little bit. I have a fair bit of faith in Gustav. So I think I'd give him my males. And probably as the girls, I think I'd give to Ashley Gentle, who lives down the road as well. there's a rivalry between New Zealand and Australia too, and people get our flags mixed up. So there's a few out there. I really enjoyed Chrissy Wellington's book when I was first starting the sports. A fellow New Zealand athlete, Joanna Lawn, she was an Ironman athlete and actually helped me purchase my first bike. So there's a few people that have really inspired me there with their approaches. The big difference between the shorter distance and the long distance, a lot of it actually comes down to nutrition. I think everyone has to do their first half Ironman and only take one gel to realize the consequences of that. So I think if you're starting out and you're more relaxed, the idea is definitely to join a training group, and you can learn a lot from each other and together. And if you're really trying to strive for a goal, once you've already had a bit of a go, then a coach is worthwhile to make your time really valuable. I've worked with a few nutritionalists over the years. I am predominantly plant-based, but I find that to get adequate protein, I try and eat a little bit of eggs and fish. I personally find my diet has been quite important. Some people go with the approach, you're doing so much exercise, you can eat what you want, but I 100% don't agree with that. I mean, of course, you have to treat yourself, otherwise it's tough, but I find the diet's really important in terms of like an inflammatory response, and if you're getting sick and around hard training sessions, I normally crave reasonably healthy foods, and I go to quite a lot of effort to work on that and being organized and prepared with good meals. I'm probably like every girl and like chocolate. I love pastries, but we don't have the same patisseries available as you do in France, and which is probably a good thing. Quite like a song called Freedom for Change. Freedom for change. But generally, I actually quite like reasonably soothing. I find that if music's too intense, it almost stresses me out. So I like a balance of maybe 70s music and sort of, I guess, remixes of like EDM and house music, but nothing too intense. We actually just finished a great series called Atypical. I don't know if it's available worldwide, but it's about a teenage boy with autism, and his perspective on the world is actually, there's some really nice symbolism in it that I think everyone can take away. Our whole household enjoyed it, so I think it's an easy watch for all age groups. I'd actually recommend it. New Zealand. Burger. Even though I just said I was healthy, you still have to treat yourself. Cycling. Ironman, I think, because it's been a big goal since I was started the sport. Yeah, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for your research.